everyone. Jim Clark here at the Synchronicity Sanctuary in Central Virginia to share another contemplative focus with you. A contemplative focus that I've used as one of the tools in my own spiritual development, my own growth of my own awareness of who I truly am. So the title of today's sharing is To Live in Illusion is Bondage. The past is over and the future is forever hidden. We began life as human beings full of wonder and curiosity. We're newborn babies. Our survival depends on whoever is nurturing us at the moment, and so our full attention is on that. We don't know who we are. We don't know where we came from. We have no knowledge of our experience whatsoever or understanding of it. We're fully involved in it. And so from there, we grow, and hopefully, as we survive our parents and our upbringing, we then go into the education process, the enculturation process. And in this process, we take on an identity. We learn that we need to create an identity that's functional in society in order to survive. So our full attention goes there. And irregardless of what we think about it, irregardless of what kind of conflicts we may have in relation to that process, nonetheless, we go into it. And in that process, we lose our awe and wonder of life. We're so involved with that identity and so involved with creating it in a functional way to ensure our survival that everything else loses any kind of importance to us. So our first years of life are dedicated to this process, and then we get locked into it. The habit that we create mentally, emotionally, and physically to manage and create whatever that identity might be is just that. It's a habit. And in that habit, it's who we want to become. It's who we want to be. And yet it's not who we are. We haven't yet to figure out where we came from, what we're doing here, and who we truly are. What's the essence of our very existence? And that is something that just disappears from life usually. And so we go on and on and on with that identity. And in the emptiness of trying to be who we are not, we eventually are, say, pulled into ourselves because we find that no matter what we do in life as that identity, no matter how successful or unsuccessful we are, life is just not fulfilling. We can accumulate wealth, we can accumulate a reputation, we can get a name for ourselves, we can be considered a great success, but beneath all of that, there's always this emptiness. There's something that's not fulfilled within us. And whether we're aware of that, we do feel it in different ways, in different forms. So depending on the individual, on what your enculturation process was and what your cellular history is as well. You come into life with that, but you're not aware of that. You're not aware of who you truly are. And if you're fortunate, then you will find yourself pursuing these questions once again. It may not be out of awe and wonder, but it might be out of a disappointment with your life, out of watching friends of yours and family that expose how empty their lives are and how disappointed they are, even though they keep that mask on about who they are with their false identity as the ego. You can tell when you're close to people and when you are related to people if they're really happy or whether they're just getting through life. So that's the process in life where we begin with who we are not, and hopefully we move ourselves into who we are by realizing that our habitual identification of who we are is just that. And now we need to find a way to undo that habit and open ourselves up to the discovery of who we are. And this is, of course, what we've been doing here at Synchronicity Foundation forever. That's the whole purpose of our existence, is to help people who are on that path and to help people open up to that path and to guide them, because it's not a simple matter of just sitting down and performing some form of meditation practice. You have to do some other things along with that. You have to really go into yourself while you're doing this practice. Because what is meditation anyway? It's always been taught to us that meditation is the primary means of bringing balance to the human experience. But what's that mean? What is balance anyway? So if we look at what that word means, it's really more like bringing harmony and oneness into the foundation of our human experience, which of course begins with the body, because without the body we don't have a human experience. And then from there we go into the mental dimension and the emotional dimensions. And we look at what's going on there. We examine ourselves. We get conscious about it. There was a process that I went through many years ago. It was a difficult process, but it was a very worthwhile process, which I still do today. And that's by examining the thoughts that you have in your day. We used to walk around with a notebook, and we were required to jot down periodically throughout our day notes about our experience in the mental dimension, what our thoughts were, notes about our emotional dimensions, what were we feeling, and so on and so forth. It's like a conscious diary. And when you do these kind of practices along with a meditation practice, which is evoking more balance in you, you start to see the patterns and the habits that you've had all your life, ones that you were unconscious of, the ones that you took for granted, the ones that you assumed were real, when they're really something that you can change, which is not ultimate reality. So you see these things and you see what your patterns are, and then you start to consciously focus on those while you're meditating. And when you see a thought come up that's negative, something that's restricting your ability to see yourself truthfully, then you counter it with a truthful thought, something that's life affirmative, something that's elevating to you, such as I am, all is, one source consciousness. I am blissful consciousness. These kind of affirmations that you can say to yourself while your mind's trying to repeat its old habits gradually teach the mind to reframe its thinking patterns, because you're not going to allow it to just go on unattended. You have to kind of take the reins of your own mind and watch what you're thinking. And if you're thinking something negative, be aware of that for what it is, and then counter that in some way that has an effect on you to pull yourself out of that pattern. It takes time, and it's not something you can do overnight. It's usually something that takes years, because you took many years to develop that habit. So it's not going to go away instantly. And this is really one of the biggest challenges that we find in the people who come to us and start to use some of our meditation technology, which works very well. And because it works very well, they get challenged by what comes up in relation to that meditation, because we don't leave it to chance. We have embedded life affirmations in our technology so that this work is being done for you. First, it puts you into a state of being, a mental state of being, where you can access your unconscious, where where your habits are stored and are still active, and then the conscious affirmative statements are going in to your unconscious and subconscious, and therein gradually replacing what you have stored in there with something more truthful, something more life positive. And in that process, of course, there's what we call a cathartic fivefold process, where the old data, which doesn't match the new data, the new experience, you're sitting in meditation, you start to get expanded, you start to get high on yourself, and you can feel the energies and you feel better. And as that feeling becomes you, the new data is going in to replace the old data. The habits are being broken up, so the old data comes to the surface to be released. And this is oftentimes an uncomfortable process for people, especially in the beginning years of meditation. I remember myself that before I found synchronicity and learned about all these things, and learned how to get a proper focus to go with the act of meditation, I just kept going through this process over and over again, but I didn't understand it. I would be very high one day or one moment, and all of a sudden I would be having all these self negative thoughts and feelings coming through me. And in my mind at the time, I foolishly believed that I wasn't getting anywhere, that something wasn't working right, when in fact, in truth, that was a sign that things were working for me. I was doing exactly what I needed to do to reshape my reality to something truthful instead of something illusory. Huh? So, because the truth is, we all are consciousness. We all are blissful beings, and we've always been that. We can't change that truth, but we can pretend to be something else. And we do pretend to be something else, but because it's a pretense, because it's not real, a part of ourselves knows this. Huh? And this is why consciousness always wins. Our truth always wins, because as we go through this process of living lives as human beings and going through various lifetimes of being who we are not, we gradually develop, let's say, a form of fulfillment in that kind of experience. We get through with it, we're done with it, and we gain enough experience of who we are not so that we develop an intuitional realization that there's something wrong with this picture. It can't be the whole picture. It can't be really me. We kind of revolt against that whole scenario at some point in our evolution, and then we begin to cross the bridge into a conscious lifestyle, into becoming more aware of who we are. And part of that process is regaining the awe and wonder of life. It might only be for a moment here and a moment there, but when you feel that, when you experience that kind of a rebirth into the innocence and the wonder of life that you are and that all life is, then you're motivated beyond description to continue the journey, because you remember who you are in a way, and you remember what life can be, how you can experience life, how you can be a celebration of life rather than someone who's just getting through life, enduring life. And in that process, if you stay with it, if you can keep it up and make it a regular daily habit, remember you're changing your habit here, then eventually you'll gain enough awareness of who you are. You'll gain a state of being where you're witnessing all of these things, even though they're still there. You witness them, and you're witnessing them from a state of being that is greater than all of this. There's more power there, because the real power in life lies in our truth. It does not lie in our pretense. This is why it's so difficult to function and be successful in life, because we're trying to get through life as who we are not. Huh? For some people, they're very successful, but they're still not fulfilled in life. They still get caught up in the drama of the identity that they have taken on in order to be successful. So they missed a step. They still have the habit, even though they were very good habits and they're very successful habits, they're habits nonetheless. And they still don't have that awareness that would free them up from the conflicts that live inside them about what life is and who they are. So this is the process that I've lived here, and that we continue to help people who are meditating using our technologies, and people who are dedicated enough to that process and far enough along in their own evolution to do such a thing. So if you show up, if you're watching this video, or if you show up at any place that teaches and nurtures meditators, then you're already in a state where you're on your way. Even though you may not see yourself that way, you wouldn't do that unless there was something in you that says, hey, you need to look at this. You need to consider that possibility. And maybe you might even want to change your lifestyle so that you can really accelerate your growth and get to a point in your life now where you can experience that elevated state of consciousness as a constant. So from my experience, all the years that I spent going through that process, and addressing whatever imbalance I found, if it was in the mental dimension, which I had some, that actually required medication for a while. And there was emotional dimensions which required some mentoring and also a strong focus within myself. And then there was also the physical dimension, the very foundation of the human experience, which also had to be addressed with diet and with exercise and with breathing and all these things. So you regain the basis for having a conscious experience by focusing on what is not conscious and what is contrary to balance, which is simply bringing harmony into your own being. Harmony in all of your organs in your body, harmony in your feelings, and harmony in your thoughts. And as you do this and go through the process, the release of negative data and all the memories and habits that go with it aren't so bad anymore, because you know that that's a good sign. You know that when you do go through this, you're more conscious and more aware than you were before. So it's really a sign of a successful life in terms of discovering who you truly are. And once you get there, it doesn't go away. That's the one thing you can take with you when you leave this life, is who you are. And if it's who you are not you're taking with you, well, then you still have to continue the journey. If it's who you are, then you're farther along in the journey. Then it's just a question of how much you can experience yourself truthfully, and not whether or not you can experience yourself truthfully. So it's a lifetime dedicated to something that I think is the only really valuable thing in life, and that is to master life in that sense, to master your life, and to become more positive and celebratory within yourself, and to share that with your world, so that other people might start to be encouraged to at least try it out for a while, because that's where we were at some point. That's where I was at some point. But now in this life, apparently, I was far enough along to jump into it and to dedicate a whole life to it, and I don't regret it. There's many things in my life that I did that had negative consequences and definitely didn't fulfill me in any way whatsoever, but this was not one of them. This is the one thing that I really found in life that was real and that was worthwhile, and that's what I wanted to share with you today. So visit us on our website, attend some of our live streams that we do, attend some of our Zoom calls that we do, where we get together with old members and new members and have conversations about experiences related to a theme, a meditative, conscious theme. And those can be very informative and very worthwhile, just to hear what people's experiences are. So keep your eyes open and keep aware of our emails, and hopefully you'll regenerate your own practice or get a boost in your own practice, and find yourself sitting down and meditate more than you were before, with a focus and with a lifestyle that helps to generate more and more awareness. So that's it for today. That's what I wanted to share with you, and I'll be back again next Monday with another contemplative focus with a slightly different twist to it. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching, and I'll bid you adieu until next Monday morning. Thank you.